23 favorite books of 2023. Let's get into it. I'm going to be breaking these up into categories, which you can jump around using the menu down below. There's a lot, so let's start off with, I guess, general fiction. And the first book in this category would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know this was all the rave a couple of years ago. I don't know why I was hesitant to pick it up, but I was, and I get it. I get why people love it. We have our main character who is actually a writer who is going to do an interview at the request of Evelyn Hugo, who is a famous actress who everybody is curious about her life. And we learn about it and things happen. It was good. I get the hype, okay? I get it. Next would definitely be the favorite of this category. It's a very small category. We just have 2 books here, but that would be The Death of Vivek Oji. This book I read early on in the year. I have a vlog that I cried in because this book hit me. This book hit me really hard. And this one is about the life and experience of Vivek Oji and the people that he was connected to and his life and the struggles of wanting to be who you are. Both of these books are LGBTQIA plus friendly, and I loved them. There are some questionable things about this book, I will admit, but it really touched my heartstrings and yeah. It was a book. Next up, comics. First, we have The Adventure Zone. This, I feel like, is a cheat because I listened to the podcast many years ago, adored it, and now they are turning it into a graphic novel, and I read the first 5 that are currently out, and I'm waiting for the next one because I absolutely loved the story, and I think they did a really excellent job turning it into a graphic novel. I love it. I love it so much. Lots of nostalgia, very fun, beautifully put together. I would recommend. And if you don't know, it is based off of a podcast where they play Dungeons and Dragons in a very story-focused way. The McElroy brothers and their dad. I think they did a beautiful job turning it into something physical and tangible, and I love it. The other graphic novel that I really enjoyed this year would be Wash Day Diaries. This one I think was very short, sweet, to the point. You get to have a glimpse into each of these characters' lives around their hair care routines and how they are connected in their friendship, and it's beautiful. It was beautiful. I really liked it. Very, again, graphic novel, beautifully put together, but also a just kind of short, sweet glimpse into everything. I really liked the way it was done. Highly recommend. Next up would be the horror thriller category. I don't think I actually have any mysteries. So here, first off, we have The Spite House by Johnny Compton. This was not everybody's cup of tea. I ended up reading this for the Literally Dead book club. Thank you, Kayla, for letting me be a guest host on that actual live show discussion. It was a lot of fun, but I know a ton of people didn't like this. It's not everybody's cup of tea. There are some things that I don't like about it. I would say the actual haunted house part of it could have been so much better than it actually was, but I loved it. I had so much fun reading this. I loved the characters. I loved the relationships. I loved all of the different voices. We go through a lot of POVs, which I'm surprised I didn't hate that, but I think it was fun. It was interesting. I liked some elements of it quite a bit, and overall had a good time, and I'm excited to read more from the author in the future. But I know, again, not everybody loved it, and I don't necessarily think it's the best haunted house book because the parts that I love about a haunted house, they just rushed through it, and that kind of sucked. But there's all of these interesting histories behind it, different connections and different things going on, and I didn't love the ending, but I still really ended up loving it. I don't know. The next one, The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a Carrie retelling focused on the Black experience, as our main character is white passing until one day when she gets her hair wet and the jig is up. People realize that she's mixed and is treated even more weird than she was before, and then all of the general Carrie things that you expect happen. I liked the reasoning behind everything. I think it was well done. It was a good time. I liked it. Okay, a haunted house book that I loved the haunted house aspect of it, and that would be These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. I will say there are some repetitive moments in this that people might not like. I loved it. I loved it. This is about a girl who, her and her mother go to her mother's estranged family after her mother's grandfather dies or something like that. And she finds out that she ends up inheriting a bunch of stuff on one condition. She has to stay in this house for an entire year, and while she's there, some stuff starts happening. It's a creepy old house with lots of weird histories and weird things going on, and there's weird elements that I really liked, and it goes in weird directions. I loved it. I loved it. I had such a good time. There is a sapphic element in here, which I think was cute. And then there's disorientation that ends up happening, uncovering backgrounds, things go in directions I wasn't expecting. It has some of the great creepy elements that I was looking for. And it's not what I typically have in mind, but I loved it regardless. So yeah. This was fun. And then a book that I absolutely adored the writing. I really enjoyed this so freaking much, but I didn't necessarily love the ending, but I still have it as one of my favorites in this category, and that would be When the Reckoning Comes by LaTanya McQueen. And I have to say, Jessie, y'all are the shit for recommending this, because I love this. I ate this up. I ate this up. This was great. This is about a woman who her friend calls her out of the blue after they haven't talked to each other in many, many, many years to be like, hey, come back to our old town. I'm getting married and I want you to be there. And she's like, I don't know, maybe. And her friend's like, well, you have some unresolved issues with these things going on and this other person's gonna be there. She's like, okay, bet, I'll go. But it turns out that this wedding is at this old plantation in their town that has been turned into a resort, and there's a bunch of commentary and a bunch of things going on, and it was beautifully written. Like, I tabbed this thing up like nobody's business. I highlighted so many things. The way it was written and the words, I loved it. The writing was my favorite part of this. If you don't jive with the writing, I wouldn't say this is for you, because I am very disappointed by the ending. I feel like this book could have been an all-time favorite if it did more. Like, if it did more, I would have this. I don't even know, because I am not happy with it, and I love the freaking book. So just imagine what this could have been in my heart if I was happier with how the actual story wrapped up. I wanted something else. I wanted more. Regardless, it was a good time. I loved the writing. I just so good, so good. Okay, now we're gonna go on to our like epic fantasies, and the first one is another cheat, because technically I read this 2 years ago. No, more than 2 years. I read this in like 2019. Girl, you read this a long time ago. And that would be Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I read this again this year so that I could read the whole trilogy, and this is kind of the whole trilogy. The third book in this series was my favorite personally, but this one stands good on its own. Like, you could just read this book and end and be cool. Like, it's a very satisfying first book of the series, and I still loved it the second time through. Arguably 5 stars. Like, it's good. It's a good book. I love the world building. I love the plot. I loved what's going on. In this world, we have suspicious myths that everybody is scared of. We have the Ska, which is basically the lower class people of this world who are led to believe that they are lesser than, and they are just meant to work and basically be slaves, right? They're basically like the slaves of the people. And then we have the upper class, who are very likely to have these magical abilities that are controlled using different metal elements. And then we have some characters who are trying to do a heist to kind of there's a lot. I don't know how to describe it. A lot's going on. It's great. I loved it. I love the commentary. I love the little like romance going on. I loved the found family and the friendships. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And then the next and the last one in this, there's more fantasy, but like it's broken up into other things because yeah. The next one would be The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. And this is about a middle-aged woman who has put adventures aside until somebody comes and is all like, hey, I need you to help me do this thing because guilt. Who persuades her to take on a job that she wasn't planning on doing with a really good payment. And so she's like, yo, I want a great life for my daughter, so I gotta do it. And so she brings the peeps back together and ends up on this adventure, and stuff happens that she wasn't expecting. It was great. This is another book that is very solid on its own. Right? Like it gives you a very satisfying ending. It doesn't have first book syndrome. It's good. It's good. Very enjoyable, and I'm excited to see what the next books have in store. I really like this. This is a really good series, and I love having somebody who is past their prime be able to be adventurous and do these things that most people would expect a mother, an older woman, to not be allowed to do that kind of stuff. I just love it. I love it. Okay, our next category. We only have one book in this category, and that is fantasy, romance, erotica. Yeah, so if you guys watched my monster smut video in the beginning of the year, well, one of those ended up being kind of like a fave for me, and that would be Katie Roberts' The Dragon's Bride. Yeah, I loved this more than I was expecting. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna be honest with you, which you will see in our romance section. This is something that I realized as I was putting this list together, is that clearly I have like a Beauty and the Beast thing. And this obviously is all over that. Anyway, let's go to fantasy romance. Romantasy, as the Goodreads choice called it. First off, I wasn't expecting this one. Daughter of the Pirate Queen. Daughter of the Pirate Queen. King. Of the Pirate King. I don't know why I can't words right now. Anyway, this was a special edition that I found on Amazon. I believe it's still available, so if you want this, links down below. This is about a girl who is the daughter of the Pirate King and is sent on a mission and ends up with this other group trying to uncover some stuff, and more things happen, and it gets bigger, better and better. The first two books in this series follow this story, and then the third is a new storyline, and I like them all. The first two I absolutely loved. I was really into it. I really liked it. I was a little embarrassed. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but I loved it. Yeah, fun. Hi. Yeah, this was a good time. Now, cozy, cute vibes would have to be the House Witch trilogy by Delamock. This is a cozy, witchy fantasy vibes where we have a house witch who comes to work for the castle, and nobody knows that he's a witch, and he is this kind of grumpy, sticks to himself personality type of character that a lot of people doesn't like, but he gets his shit done and he makes really good relationships with certain people, and it's a lot of fun to see what's going on and experience the romance and the friendships and the bonding and the characters. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. It is chunky. I think all of the books are kind of chunky like this, and it was fun. I liked the characters. I liked the romance. I liked the interactions. Like it was just a good time. And I want to read more from this author because I loved it. Okay. Next up would be Emily Wilde Encyclopedia of Fairies. I ended up reading this recently, and it definitely gives off Veronica Speedwell Tale vibes, but with fairies and fae. And I love the dynamics of the characters. I was very interested in her mentality. We have Emily Wilde, who is working on her encyclopedia and doing research, and she goes to this town to learn about the fae in the area, and nobody's a big fan of her when she gets there. So she gets a lot of pushback. She's not great with people. And then her academic rival that only she thinks is a rival and he just thinks of her as a coworker, he comes in to help and everybody loves him, and she's frustrated, and their dynamic is cute and it's fun. And I'm excited to read more from the series. This is a good burst one because it wraps up nicely, and I'm just like interested to see where it goes. Then one I wasn't expecting to love as much as I love would be the Lunar Chronicles, starting with Cinder by Marissa Myers. And this is a sci-fi fantasy retelling of several famous fairy tales, all interwoven into a beautifully crafted story. And the main one that we focus on in this one is Cinderella. And so we have Cinderella as a cyborg, and it's just, I was so impressed with the way that the different stories were intertwined. We have Cinderella, we have Little Red Riding Hood, there's Snow White, and there is also Rapunzel. I think those are the four main fairy tales that span the books. There are 6 total, although only 4 of them are part of the main story and the other 2 are additional. And I think there is even more than that, but I had a box set. I read 6 and I loved them. I absolutely loved them. Highly recommend if you are into fairy tale retellings. Then I ended up reading Mortal Follies by Alexis Hall, and this is a sapphic historical fantasy romance with a main character who is cursed and is trying to figure out what's going on, and it gets help in an unlikely way. And we have a fae or something who is watching and documenting the story in a cute, quirky way. So you have a fun narrator who's watching along, who's mischievous, and it was just very cute, quirky. There were some things that I didn't love necessarily about the relationship dynamic, but for the most part, I was really into it, and I thought it was cute and fun and very simple. This is not heavy, but I really liked the writing, I liked the characters, and I ended up eating it up. I loved it. Next up, another cozy fantasy romance, Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. Yes, I loved this. This was fun. We have a orc who has put down her battle axe and is trying to open a coffee shop in this fantasy world, and you get to experience all of these characters that she meets along the way as she's trying to make this happen. And it's all about relationship building and just achieving one's dream in this small, homey way. Low stakes. It's great. I mean, like, there are stakes, some things happen, but like, it was very cute. I love this. This is another sapphic romance, and 100% here for it. Next up, we have a big favorite of mine, and that would be Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is a standalone that is inspired by the Princess Bride movie, where the princess goes to save the day. Like, that was, I guess, the thing that sparked the story. So we have a young girl who is in love with a duke or something like that. Like, she's not a princess. She's not fancy, and he is, and they care for each other. Something happens to him, and she goes on this big adventure to try and save him and be the hero, and a whole bunch of different things happen along the way, and there's found family and a fun narrator and a talking rat and all of these mysteries and really scary spore things that, when they get to moisture, expand into these crazy things, and fun world building and dynamics. And I loved it. I feel like this is a great fantasy because it's beginner friendly, I feel like. It has these great world building concepts in a small, easy to digest package that revolves around a romance, which I guess isn't going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's fun, it's simple, I loved it. Okay, editing me here to come and make a quick note where this book actually wouldn't really be romance, I don't think. Like, there is a love story that guides it, but it's more about the adventure than anything else. So I may have miscategorized some things just a little bit. I was focusing on things that had love as a main thread, not thinking about all of the important romance element. Most of the books in these categories does fit that, but I think this one might not. So take with that what you will. And then the last one in this category is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I'm not gonna lie, when I got this, I was all like, I don't know if this is gonna be my cup of tea. And then I fucking loved it. It's so good. It's so good. We have a world that revolves around these Providence cards. There's 12 Providence cards, and each card has some sort of magic ability that it gives the user. But in this world, everything comes at a price, and magic outside of these Providence cards are shunned upon, and it's called the sickness. If somebody ends up getting this sickness and possibly magical powers, they're kind of kaput. They're taken out because it's not a good thing. Like, bad things happen. I don't know. People are afraid of it. And our main character got sick when she was younger, and she was kind of pushed aside and hidden and grew up with her aunt and uncle instead of her main family to try and keep her safe, because nothing ended up coming from it, or so everybody believes. And so she has a character in her head, which is a dynamic that I absolutely loved. And as she gets older, some stuff happens and she runs into some people and gets pulled into this whole big thing, and it becomes a much bigger thing. And yeah, I loved it. There's all of these rhymes and riddles about the Providence cards that I didn't know was a thing that I love, but I love. And then we have the character in her head, which is another thing that I love, and twists and turns, and it ends on like a OMG moment. And yeah, I loved it. I'm currently reading the second book in the series, and I'm also enjoying that one. I haven't finished it yet, but it's looking good so far. So yeah, good times. Good times, would recommend. It's very romance heavy too. Both of the books in this series, although there's different romance focuses because different things happen, so we kind of ship. I think it's a good job. I think that's a good way to tackle the series situation. Last but not least, we have the romance category, starting off with A Merry Little Meet Cute by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. And okay, how do I talk about this? So the setup is basically that we have a director who is trying to break away from the porn industry and break into mainstream via a cheesy Christmas movie. And the main actress that he has for this movie dips out at the last minute for some reason, and they need a new actress on short notice. And in a mix-up, one of the porn stars ends up getting picked. And he's all like, hey, you can do this, but you have to be on the hush-hush. There's no sex. There's no porn. Nobody can know. Like, if we want this movie to get anywhere, you need to be somebody else. And she, interested in being in the, actual acting world, is like, yeah, okay, I will do this. And so she joins, and she ends up being the, co-star to her music author crush, who is a bad boy trying to make a good image for himself by doing this movie. And so for different reasons, both of them are trying to be on their best behavior, but chemistry flies and fun times ensue. It was very cute. I loved the commentary. I loved the way a lot of things were handled. I really enjoyed it. I see why people liked it. It's good, body positive, sex positive, good conversations. Highly recommend. Oh man, friggin' Jenga over here. Risky Business. Now, mentioned before, the next book, Veronica Speedwell series. A Curious Beginnings, the first one. This is by Deanna Raybourn, and we have our main character is a Victorian butterfly catcher who is not like other girls and who gets pulled into this crazy life after somebody attempts to kidnap and or murder her, and now she's kind of on the run trying to figure out what's going on and why she's in the middle of it. And she ends up with Stoker, who is an unlikely person to try and help her with all of this, and it's fun. It's so fun. Slow burn situation. Each book in the series is them figuring out a different mystery. She is sex and body positive. He's a little bit of a prude, and they are both clearly interested in each other but are trying not to go down that route for different reasons. And I love it. It's so much fun. The different things they get into, I love it. I love it. This one, I had the crap out of this and had a lot of fun. I keep saying that I will make copies of the annotated books and put them up for sale for people who are interested. If that's something that you would be interested in, let me know, because I think it would be fun to do, but I'm not sure if it would be worth it in the grand scheme of things, because it'd be a lot of writing, and I don't know. Maybe if people are interested in it, I might have that be a thing. All right, getting to the end here. Another Christmas book, surprisingly. We have The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leslie. This is cheesy in every single way. We have two characters who work at a bookstore, and our main character is a autistic woman who thinks of her coworker as competition / her rival. And so it's a frenemies to lover sort of situation where the bookstore is struggling, and she's pretty sure that one of them's gonna have to go. And so she's like, how about whoever has the most sales gets to stay? And so they have this kind of competition sort of situation, and in it they obviously spend time with each other and are confronting different things and all of this stuff. Things happened, things switch up. I loved it. I loved it. It was cheesy, it was fun, it was relaxing, it had the tropes and the dynamics that I enjoyed, and I ate it up. I ate it up, totally my thing. Loved it. And then our last book, which is going to tie a bunch of things together with my interests, and that is By the Book by Jasmine Guillory. And this is part of the Meant to Be series, which is different romance books by different authors that are all retellings of fairy tales. And this one is Beauty and the Beast. And I realized that apparently that's a thing that I like, because most of the books have that vibe. You remember what I was saying earlier? Yeah, apparently. Anyway, so this one we have PR person maybe for a publishing house who is trying to move up in her career, and who, to do that, needs to convince one of their highly anticipated new release authors to finish his book. So she ends up suggesting that she will help coach him through whatever he's struggling just so that he can get the book out, and he agrees. So she finds herself in close proximity to this grumpy author, and in the process, obviously, they get to know each other and things happen, and it's great, and I loved it. Totally my jam. But yes, these are the 33 best books that I read in 3033. Damn. These are the 23 best books I read in 2023. Absolutely loved them. I really hope you enjoyed these. If you enjoyed any of them, let me know. What were your favorite books of the year? I would love to hear that. There were actually a lot of other books that could have made it into the honorable mentions, but there were too many of them, and I was all like, I don't know which one to pick over the rest. So I was like, let's just focus on the 23 books because it's a lot. This is going to be a long video, so let's just focus on what we got here. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really hope you enjoyed these. If you did, be sure to thumbs up, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Stick around for more videos from me in the future, and put a rose emoji in the comment section down below if you made it this far, because Beauty and the Beast, baby. Yeah, until next time. Bye!